you recall when you heard metal music for the first time in your life?
Yeah, I was around 13, 14 years old. I grew up around rock and bands. My dad was into music, not metal, but, bands, Bruce Springsteen and the Eagles and Dire Straits and, guitar bands. So I grew up around kind of that style of music, so I was always aware of instruments and live bands. But as far as metal goes, I was around 13, 14, and the first band I properly heard in that genre was Metallica. It was Enter Sandman. That's when obviously the Black Album was massive. I was 14 in 1994, so it'd already been out a few years, but I kind of just discovered it then. And it was on like heavy rotation on MTV, and that's how I discovered it really on MTV.
So was Metallica the kind of band that made you become a musician, or did that came like later on? Or
no, as soon as I saw it, I was hooked. I just fell in love with it. It was just big. It just sounded different, and it looked cool. And there was a truck running through the desert trying to knock this kid over in a bed, and just the visuals and the sonics of it all just drew me in, just sucked me right in. And from that day, I just fell in love with it. Obviously, got to see the name of the band at the end, and went out and started buying records, and off I went on my journey,
So you obviously sing and play guitar. So
yeah.
Which one came first?
Guitar. I think everyone sings anyways when they're young, so probably singing, I guess. But I never wanted to be a singer in a band. I wanted to be a guitar player.
So that's the normal story, that you were sort of forced into that, or?
Not forced, just fell into it. It's just that, when I had the opportunity to play with other people, whether it be in school or in youth clubs or anything, around where I used to live, I didn't find doing both difficult. It's not that I wanted to do it. I just ended up just doing it for fun, just with friends, just having fun, singing Nirvana and Metallica and all that kind of stuff. And that was it. It just kind of stuck then, I was the guy that could do both. And yeah, and here I am 20 years later, whatever it is,
So when it comes to like metal vocals, were you first sort of like mimicking your idols and then figuring out your own way to do things? Or how did that like vocal evolution start for you?
It was just natural. I wasn't trying to emulate anyone. I was just singing. I grew up in choirs a lot in school, which probably helped. I used to kind of, enjoy singing just because it would like get you out of class and stuff like that, and it was musical. So if I could do music or maths, I would always try and go down that route. So I joined choirs when I was in school, would do Christmas concerts and all that kind of stuff. So I knew I had a voice. It just sounded like me. I wasn't trying to replicate anyone when I was singing. And, as soon as I started to kind of get into the more heavier side of metal, like, I fell in love. What I class as my first proper metal band was Machine Head. That for me, like, burned my eyes. I discovered that just after I discovered Metallica. And the vocal style was very different. The guitars were down-tuned. It was way more aggressive. So I would kind of learn how to kind of do what Rob Flynn was doing. It wasn't like screaming or shouting. It was just more like a raspy, just an aggressive style voice. And then, and just kind of fell in love with other bands who were even more aggressive. I grew up on bands like Korn as well. So again, it was just all these different kind of vocal styles that I was just absorbing. I'm not trying to replicate them, but just when we would play covers for fun, and we would do those certain songs, I would then try and kind of get my own version of what they were doing across, And,
so you were still using your own voice and not trying to sound like
yeah,
them.
Exactly. Yeah. As I become a better singer and a better screamer and more professional, I've been doing it for such a long time now. Like my vocal journey still hasn't ended. I'm still discovering things, what to do, what not to do, little get out of jail free cards on stage if it's cold or my voice is not feeling very good that night. So it's a never-ending journey being a vocalist for sure, So starting young as I did and having all these amazing influences from vocalists really helped, I would try and emulate it in my own way. And and then it just kind of just gets bigger and better, and you just learn how to do it properly. And, YouTube and all those places now is a great way to discover how to do certain things. When I didn't have that. It didn't exist, So I would just do it trial and error, blow my voice out, recover, learn not to do that again. And then all of a sudden it just starts to all piece together. And, we formed a band and we started writing our own songs, and and it was cool. I think I've got my own voice. I think when people hear Bullet and hear me singing, I'd like to think they know it's me straight away.
I agree.
So I think that's really important as a vocalist, as a guitar player, any instrument. If people can tell who it is from the first couple of notes, whether it be a guitar solo or a drum groove or a vocal line, you know, that's something which I'm really proud of, is that, you know, I sound like me, you know.
Speaking about like blowing up voice, did it take long time to figure out the right technique for it?
Oh man, so long. And like I said, I'm still learning every day, you know, what to do, what not to do. If something happens, I'm just very like hyper focused on what my voice feels like, how it sounds like, and what I need to do to get out of that stressful position or kind of place where it didn't sound very good that night. You know, analyze it after the show. Why? What happened? What did I do differently? Was there something wrong? Was the mix different? What was the temperature? Did I sleep well? You know, it's a minefield. Being a vocalist in a band, regardless of any genre, I think, you know, you're super critical of your performances and you're always trying to make it better. But that's what we do, and that's what I strive for. I strive to be the best I can be every single show, whether it's a club, an arena, a festival. You know, I take pride in what I do.
Obviously, like you said, you evolve as a vocalist through like career, and now you did like a sort of like throwback tour in a way because you played the Poison through.
Yeah.
So do you have to like adjust a lot your like current vocals to the old songs? Could you perform them still in that like old naive way that you were doing back in the days, or?
I'd like to know. I hope I don't actually, because it was because of the Poison where I had really bad vocal issues during that touring cycle. I have incredible memories of that era of the band because it was so fresh and exciting, and we were blowing up all over the world. But not having advice and coaching and being a professional at that point in my life, I didn't know what to do, what not to do, how to cope with it, and I fucking ruined myself. You know, really bad. I got into a right pickle where we were on stage in Edinburgh in Scotland, and about 2 songs in, voice completely just went. And I knew it was coming weeks and weeks and weeks in advance. It wasn't right. I was doing stupid things to compensate. And I just completely blew it out. And like 2 songs in of a headline show, just had to walk off stage. And it crushed me. It crushed me, you know, it just set me on this roller coaster of emotions about what was wrong, what, you know, and just kind of like I did it to myself and all this negative stuff, you know. But it was that was the start of me being a professional singer, though. So it ended up being a really positive thing, you know. And since that moment, I'd never want to experience that ever again, you know.
So you went through a vocal surgery in 2007. Yeah. So did you have to sort of like relearn how to do screaming again, or?
Yeah, man, everything. I couldn't even project talking. Yeah. It got so bad that there was. I remember really clearly. Like we were rehearsing. And I knew it wasn't there, but we just were still trying to rehearse just to see, you know, every day, just go in, try and sing some songs. If it didn't happen, no worry, maybe tomorrow. And it just didn't get better. And I remember like, I was about to get in my car. So there's, I don't know what the roof of a car is, maybe 3-4 foot long. And I was trying to say goodbye to the boys on the other side of the car. And I couldn't project my voice that far.
Ah, okay.
It was terrifying. You know, it was like, what am I doing wrong? I just the whole mechanism of just being able to speak just wasn't there anymore.
So was that the part when you also asked from Melissa Cross if she could help you with the screen, or did that came like later on?
That was the start of the process. It was just like, right, like you just need to sort this out. You know, like you've had an amazing, like I'd achieved up until that point all the dreams I could ever imagined. You know, the band got signed, we made an album, it was blowing up all over the world, we were touring with the biggest bands in the world, and then I couldn't even like project over a car roof, you know what I mean? It was just like, it was terrifying. So then we just kind of like, okay, what do we need to do? Let's go find some vocal coaches. Let's get the best in the business in our world. It's pointless going to see someone that doesn't understand heavy metal.
Yeah.
You know, so you got to find the right people. And we did. I found Melissa, I found a couple of other guys. And we just started the process of just coaxing it back slowly but surely. And, you know, eventually it did come back after probably around 18 months. It was a long process. And during this time as well, we were tracking Screaming Fire. So you know, I can't listen to that album. Still to this day, I can't do it.
That's something, I guess, that you don't feel like proud of, like, after
No, I mean, like, the album is what it is and was what it was, and it was extremely successful and it did its job. But from my point of view, as being the voice of that album, I can't listen to it. It's like, 'cause I know exactly where I was and how it was feeling physically and mentally to try and just get through that song to record it. And a lot of the stuff as well that we used on there was demos. The demo vocal, you know, the demo vocals we did a couple of years before it was due to come out, really, because we had just some songs, and we actually had to end up taking the vocals from the demo onto it to make it sound, because it actually sounded better than what was actually coming out of my mouth, you know what I mean? So it was a traumatic time. And, you know, thankfully I'm done with that. But it was a lesson learned. I just learned the hard way. You know, no one guided me And I'm a little bit pissed about that. You know, no one took me by the scruff of the neck and said, hey, let's go get you some vocal training, warm up, warm down, do's and don'ts. No one did anything. So I learned the hard way, you know, and when I speak to up and coming bands these days and, you know, they ask for advice, you know, that this is kind of what I tell them, you know, it's like, you got to be careful. You got to take it seriously. You got to learn what you're doing, what you shouldn't be doing. And if you want longevity and a happy career as a vocalist, you know, you need to take it seriously. And there's things you must do and things you must not do. When you started, did you have like any kind of warm-up routine that you follow? Nothing. Do you have a specific one today? Yeah, I still adapt. Like I can feel and hear my voice when it needs to be pushed. So when I'll discover something, I find it really beneficial, it works. And then maybe a year, 18 months, 2 years, wherever after, like it just starts to go down in quality. It's not being stressed. It's like any muscle, you need to like stress it, you know? So the more you go through the same cycles, the more it gets used to it. And then that's great until it starts to kind of not sound good anymore. So as soon as I feel it and hear that happen, I'll go and try and discover something else, a different technique, a different person, different warm-ups, different scales, until I find something which gels with me. And I like the one I've been doing at the minute, I've been doing since I think October last year. So it's quite new. And it's really, really helped. I like my voice since January when we started touring the Poison stuff, it's never sounded better. So whatever I'm doing at the minute, I'm really happy with, you know. And I've got this little thing called Dr. Vox, which is just like a plastic bottle with like a plastic straw, and you fill it up to water level and you do all the warm-ups blowing bubbles. So sort of like water breathing, I don't know if that's the correct word for it. It regulates your breathing, it regulates the volume, because you can't push so hard because there's so much back pressure. So it kind of lets you know where you need to be, like volume wise, and where you're pushing from, because it's all about, you know, your lips are sealed and it's all pressure, and it's really done me good things. So recommend that. Are there like some specific foods or drinks that you try to avoid before the show that you have felt that they harm your vocal cords, or something on the opposite side that you want to take that you have felt that they help you with the singing screaming? It's not anything that's it's vocal cord issue. When you're eating, it's not it's more kind of acid reflux. That's the problem, you know what I mean? So if you eat, I tend not to eat. About 3 hours before the show is my cutoff time. And I tend not to eat anything super heavy or anything super like spicy or strong. Even like a pasta sauce is really acidic. So you try and avoid that stuff. Not all the time, you know what I mean? Like you can't like just put everything on hold in your life. Like you can't eat what you want. But on tour, I've just learned that there's certain foods that I don't like to eat just because you get gas, you get acid reflux, you burping on stage, it tastes gross, you get that kind of acidic feel in the back of your throat, and that's when it's bad. Is because if you're feeling that's when it's like burning your vocal cords and starts to kind of create some issues. So I'll just have something not plain. You can have flavor and all that stuff, but anything spicy, anything with a big, strong, bold flavor, and anything kind of super acidic, like pasta sauces, curries, that kind of stuff is not the best. So obviously you've released a lot of albums with Bullet for My Valentine. Are there like some specific albums where you have felt that you've taken a big step forward as a vocalist, learned something new about yourself, for example? Yeah, I think, I've had that in every album. Like every album, you know, it's not like a live show. You're in a studio environment. You're on a really good mic. You can hear everything. There's no crowd, you know, so that's when it's quite even more stressful. Like a live show, regardless if you have a good show or not, it's done. Once it's done, it's done. You go to the next one, crowd go home, everyone's happy. In a studio, that you don't get that luxury, you know. It's take after take after take. You like microscopic details about vowel shapes and sounds, and you know how well you've said a word. And even though you're doing aggressive vocals, you want every word to be distinguishable, so you can hear the lyrics and all that stuff. So, but again, I've been doing it for like 8 albums now, so it's nothing new, but every album is quite stressful. So it's just knowing that I approach it like a live show, because you know, you want it to feel vibing like a performance, but you don't have the luxury of it being one take and done like a live show. So it can be quite stressful, but yeah, it's fun. It's fun. So there is also some new Bullet music in the works. So will there be like vocally anything new in the future? I'd like to think so. You know, I like to push myself, you know, musically, the band, and as a vocalist, I always try to add something new, something fresh, something more contemporary. But I'm always very much aware that my voice is a very important part of the band's identity. So I'm not going to do anything crazy like start rapping or anything, anything that would just be like, what the fuck is he doing? But I just want to just create really strong melodies, the best lyrics I can, and deliver the performances which will engage people in listening. When they hear it, it just makes them go, fuck, that was awesome. So I don't think we're going to bring anything new to the table. But every song is new anyways, so I like to think that will bring something out in me anyways,
So you obviously shared your best advice to new artists, but I will ask you in the end that what were your parents' reactions when they heard you first time screaming your lungs out? Were they like supportive in the beginning, or were they like, what the fuck is this dude doing?
No,
or
like ever since I picked up a guitar, they were super supportive. They could just see I was hooked.
Okay.
And instead of kind of going against that, they just encouraged it.
Okay, that's cool.
Yeah, really, really cool. Me and my dad would go to Cardiff on a Saturday morning, and we'd just spend the morning walking around guitar shops, like because he knew I loved it, and I think he was kind of living something through me as well, like. Father-son time, going to look at guitars, listening to music. I'd pick up a guitar, I'd play, and he'd, as a dad, he would just be like, oh my God, I get it now. I have 2 boys. My oldest son, Evan, he's an amazing guitar player, and I had that moment. So I get it now, You just, as soon as you fall in love with something as a kid, and you're actually quite good at it, like an instrument or something, as a parent, it feels amazing, you know what I mean? So
so you will keep that and be supportive?
100%. I don't care what my boys want to do, as long as they commit themselves to it and be the best they can at it. Like whether it's music or art or a doctor or whatever, just apply it, just dedicate yourself, and be the best version of you can, whatever you decide you want to do. And I'll support you till the day I die, you know what I mean? And like, as he's wants to go into music, that's great. That's a bonus for me, you know what I mean? So I can help him, and we write songs together in our little studio upstairs. And he's performed with us on stage in London in 2023. He came up on stage, he did a song with us in front of like a sold out roundhouse show.
That's cool.
Yeah, man. So I'm just trying to give him all this experience. Oh man, sure. I was almost in tears, because he was bricking it. He was only 12 years old at the time, and he took the guitar, I took the mic, and it was like, 4,000 people, sold out London show. And I was like, you ready? He's like, I'm ready, Dad. And then off we went. I introduced him on stage, and off we went. And what a moment. Yeah, he killed it. And super proud of him. So yeah, all he wants to do now is be in a band, play music, record music. He's only 15, but he's like I was. He's very focused. That's it. So I can see it. That's all he's gonna do. So I'll just be there as much as I can for him, try to support him, and not open doors for him, because I think that's cheating. He's got to earn it, And I'd like to see him start from the ground up and build something for himself, because it's so much more rewarding than Dad helping him. You know what I mean? Like I'll help him doing the process was as a kid, and like get him up to speed with technology and bring him on. He comes on tour all the time, so he knows how it works. But he's got to do it for himself, And it's going to be hard to kind of put him through the mill. But I think it's important that he earns it and deserves it,
Thanks a lot for taking the time to talk to us.
No worries, man. Thank you very much.